You want to know what Rob Font, Ian McCall, and Chito Vera all have in common? They all lost to John Lineker. Now, John Lineker is one of the forgotten stories in North America through the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Here's what happened. And I met this guy. You know when you meet a guy, but the guy's really nice to you, so you remember him forever? Okay, this was one of the experiences I had with Lineker. Now, I got to tell you, because he looks like a scary guy. Lineker's he's always muscled out. When he goes out and fights, I mean, he's straight up fireworks. He's just going to knock you out. He's got all sorts of intentions, and they're all rotten. He'll hit you in the face and hope your rib breaks. I mean, like, he's out there to destroy everything. He's got a big smile on his face. He's one of these guys in between. And the reason I say that he's one of the forgotten stories, this guy was a #1 contender if there ever was one. Let me give you an example. There was 3 different nights where Dana White told him, win this fight, you're fighting for the championship. So the day before that fight, he missed weight. So he went out and he won the fight, and Dana said, well, I can't give you a championship fight when you missed weight, but same deal in this next one. Go out and win your next one. Whoever it is, matchmakers will get a hold of it, but when they do, win that one, give you a championship fight. He went out, he won the fight. Oh, did I mention the day before? He missed weight, happened a 3rd time. Dana tells him same deal. And it was one of these things where he was just trying to go too low. It was as simple as that. And he was a young guy when he was signed to the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And you guys will know this no matter how old you are, but you will know as human beings, unfortunately, we don't get smaller with time. So he was just right as his body's maturing. He's always traveling, right? He lives over in Brazil. Now he's in another country. He's trying to get the weight off. He's trying to eat. He can't speak the language. I mean, everything was a mess, and he just kept on missing weight. But he kept on winning fights. So now he goes over to Singapore and becomes the world champion. I mean, he's knocking everybody out. I want to say he's had 4 fights. All these fights that he's winning, the guys are going down, they're not getting to the distance. Well, now all of a sudden he's got a problem in his brother. The problem's named Andrade. Andrade is a little bit younger guy. Andrade has just as bad of intentions. Andrade has just as good of a record. And Andrade likes to win a fight the exact same way. Oh, by the way, it's a countryman. Now, this is very relevant. And you don't always see this in North America. If a guy from Wisconsin takes on a guy from Illinois, you don't feel it as, okay, great, 2 guys are going to fight. But I will share with you, culturally, that's different in Brazil. There was even a period of time where the Brazilians didn't want to fight one another, even if they weren't friends. Even if they weren't teammates, because they were countrymen. And they did have secrets once upon a time. I mean, jiu-jitsu was a massive secret. When I was going to college, was 1995. But in 1993, when I skipped the only class of my life, went home and confessed it to my father, went to the rental store, got a tape that was banned in 48 different states, called the UFC and went and watched that at my buddy Jeff's house and realized what I wanted to do. When I was going to college, I went to Utah. Because in Utah, there was a gym ran by Pedro Sauer, and it was officially the 6th Gracie certified gym in all of America. It was hard to find jiu-jitsu. That's my point. And there was a time when the Brazilians, even if they weren't buddies, still didn't want to come over and get in there together. They didn't want to show those secrets. They wanted to keep that. They were very proud of that. I remember a fight that happened in Pride, and this was massive. It was Ricardo Arona. Ricardo Arona was one of my favorites ever. Grappling and fight. I love to watch Arona. And Arona fought Vanderlei Silva. Now, they had heat. Right, Shootbox and the Brazilian top team, they had heat, they had problems. It was very legitimate. But one of the things that added to that was the surprise that they would have heat because they were both countrymen from Brazil. And up until that point, they largely stayed away from each other. I can remember talks of Anderson versus Machida, or even Anderson versus Jacare. And the answer by those guys was no. And it wasn't no, we're friends, or no, just because we know each other. They were countrymen from Brazil. That wasn't that long ago. So when you have Andrade, who's going to step to Lineker, who has the belt, right? That belt brings prestige to all of Brazil, to all of the MMA community. But what do we know about champion? What do we know about that word champion? The term is mutually exclusive. There can be only one. Lineker's got it. Andrade wants to take it. Now they got to go fight. I mean, I must tell you, those stories set themselves up. And when I watch Andrade, I look at a brash young kid. He reminds me on a personal level of Chris Lieben. Now, that's a compliment. very close with Chris Lieben, but Chris Lieben would block punches with his cinder block head. He wasn't out there looking pretty, right? Chris wasn't slipping. Go ahead and hit me. If you're in range to hit me, then I'm in range to hit you, and that's how Chris would measure you. Most guys would stick a jab out there to see where you're at. Chris would wait till you hit him right in the face. Now he knows where you are, and he'd swing back. Andrade does the same thing. He fights a risky game. He's young enough to get away with it. Andrade is a very legitimate threat to Lineker's throne. And Andrade does. See, I gotta remind you that they're the same, and I gotta remind you that Andrade is younger because we've seen this historically. When you get two bangers to go out there, it really isn't a matter of who's more powerful. That's what we think we're seeing, but the reality is who's faster. That's what we're truly seeing. When both guys got the same holster on their hip, whoever can get those out fastest, it doesn't matter if it's a 22 versus a 44. It doesn't matter. If one can get there quicker. And I got to look at Andrade because when I watch Andrade, he's plenty fast. When I watch Lineker, he's plenty fast. I'm just sharing you that age generally will matter in these kinds of games. Now, the other side of the coin, this isn't if I touch you, you go down. Both of these guys can take a whole bunch of shots. But as far as a championship match goes, right? I mean, this is coming Friday. This is on Amazon. It was on Prime. This is for the one championship. This is the main event. I mean, all the marbles are in. It's countryman versus countryman, but it's banger versus banger. It's record versus ranker. I feel as though largely this is John Lineker facing himself.